Welcome to another edition of What's Going On. I'm your host, Colin Michael Jobe. We have a really interesting show for you today. My special guest, Gary Drisdell. Gary, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Nice to see you.
You're welcome. Gary's written a really interesting book, folks. It's called Healthyism, Healthy Eye, Healthy World. And Gary's going to tell us why it's important for us to have to be healthy ourselves, as well as good for the world to be healthy.
Absolutely.
Gary, once again, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
You know, it's we hear a lot about health. And unfortunately, it's something that most people struggle with. And so to think about it, when you think about being healthy, you think of, what do I need to do in order to be healthy? Mm-hmm. So what would you advise the average person who, like myself, I told you this before, I had what you'd call a junk food diet.
Yes. And
many years ago, I decided to read up on health. Didn't have any health issues. Just decided that I needed to change my ways and got on the path to reading more, learning more, and actually taking action. Mm-hmm. So what do you recommend for the average person out there who may be struggling like I did?
Well, how were you feeling at the time? Were you feeling low and energy was down, or you just knew that you were... I asked that because it depends, to me, it depends on how you're feeling a lot as the beginning, the starter.
You know what, it didn't feel that sluggish. I feel better now, granted.
Right.
But as I just looked at it and thought to myself, you know what? I knew what I was doing wasn't going to be productive long term.
Yes.
And but I was always in a hurry, always in a haste. So, you know what? I'm not really focused on nutrition. Let's just fill up the stomach.
Yes.
And but as I said, I just became more aware. It was more of a self-awareness part on my part as I looked around and said, you know what? You probably shouldn't do this for the next while. And I just realized I needed to change my habits.
So preventative.
Preventative.
Right on.
Because I used to work in a hospital many years ago. And from that experience, I learned that, I saw a lot of people who were sick. Mm-hmm. And even though it didn't really hit me at the time, it hit me many years after. I thought, if I can prevent something, that's a whole lot better than actually being hooked up to a machine trying to solve the problem.
Mr. Harper, you should listen to this. A little preventative for the general public would be really good.
All right, and from what I understand, it's cheaper too.
Yes, big time. So your original question is, what do you suggest for optimal health?
Exactly.
That's the key. We only have this one body that we get. If you were put on a desert island and someone came along and says, here, you get one car and that's all you have for your whole life. You get all the roadways that you want. You can't get off the island. Here it is, and you get no extra pieces for that vehicle. You just have to take it as it is. You'll take care of it. You'll do all the things necessary to make sure that it's going to last your lifetime there. Mm-hmm. And we don't do that for our body.
Strange, isn't it?
It's strange, but I think we've come, we've come to the point on the road that we're going to start making those changes. And there's a lot of people making changes, just like you said. You just sort of woke up to it one day and says, I got to make this change. It's, we do see this large amount of obesity in society and all kinds of sicknesses and illnesses, and it's the norm, but there's a lot of people waking up. There's a lot of, if you look at the shows on television, a lot of people are pro-health, the Dr. Oz's and the doctors and Oprah and,
so slowly creeping in.
It's creeping in mainstream. It's now mainstream, so the key things that a person can do for their health, the number one thing is definitely, well, I shouldn't say number one, they're all number one together. But a big thing is nutrition. You got to make sure that you watch what you eat. You had the junk food thing. They talk about the primal diet and the paleo diet. The paleo is an ascetic version of the primal. It's a more strict version of the primal diet. But the primal diet is what they refer to as eating whatever man was eating back 10,000 years ago, before agriculture, before we started to harvest grains and whatnot. Wow. So whatever you could catch, whatever you could pick off the ground and off the tree, that was basically your sustenance. And there's a lot of truth to that. The more foods that we eat that are natural and not processed is the key. And that's a whole discussion in itself.
So eat raw, eat it as raw.
As much raw as possible. Go ahead and cook some, because you still get the nutrients in it. You just don't, the enzymes get destroyed when you cook it, but it doesn't mean the food's bad for you. You're going to get minerals and vitamins and whatnot in it, but you lose the enzymatic activity, which helps to break down the food. Because in the end, it's all about assimilation. How well do you assimilate the food into your body?
Right.
Or is the body fighting to get it out of you as fast as possible because it's just harmful to the body? So that's, that's the trade-off, because, you may eat something that puts a big smile on your face, that donut or whatever,
right.
but, which is good, that smiles are good, but your body has to work to get rid of it. So if you're living a really good life, go ahead and have it. Have, one or two once in a while, but if you need to heal and you need to feel better, then it's better to eliminate it. So nutrition, exercise, make sure you use the body the way for what it was designed to do, and it encompasses all the actions that you can think about that you can do. So it's a push, and it's the pull, it's the twisting, it's the squat, and it's the raise. It's to run fast to get away from being food for an animal or chasing an animal. It's not long distance running. My friends wouldn't like me to say that because I have a lot of friends who are runners, but it's just not good for the body long term. You're going to wear it down to run. But if you have the body, the constitution to do that, by all means. But I just, I'm going to pick on it for a second. Some of my friends who are runners are not running anymore because their knees are busted or the hips been replaced or whatever. So, I'm 50 now. My friends are 50, 55. They're in that age that the body starts to show whatever you did to it in the previous 20, 30 years. Sleep is another one. Make sure you get proper sleep. There's all kinds of techniques for doing that. Sunshine, make sure you get sunshine directly to the skin of the body.
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D, it's a big one. It's been in the news a lot lately. And emotional is another one. You got to be able to take a look at what's going on in your mind emotionally. If you're feeling sad all the time or angry all the time or fearful all the time, it has to be addressed. It's going to cause you long-term damage. Because our mental assessment of something causes an emotional reaction. That reaction is an actual physiological effect on the body.
So it's a negative
cortisol
effect.
Or whatever the
chemical
thousands of different cascades of chemicals that comes rushing through the body is going to affect you long term. It's good short term. It tells you what to do about something, so don't ignore your emotions. So if you're angry, why am I angry? And then deal with that. And there's lots of techniques to deal with it, either through mainstream psychology, or you can find all kinds of techniques out there.
Or just get rid of your friends.
Or just get rid of my friends. I have a technique in my book called, it's sort of, there's a 7-step process in the book that helps to get rid of emotional challenges. And so those type of things.
Okay, great. I mean, let's go back to the book for a minute. What caused you to write the book?
Well, initially it was two things. It was dumping of information. We tend to go around with all this information in our heads. So I wanted to download it and put it into something that I could present to people. And another thing, it was like, okay, I'll make this as a business card. It'll be a big business card to offer to people when I meet them. But it became much more than that. It became a bit of an altruistic mission. Because I realized what I was writing, it was really good for me to get out why do I do the destructive things that I do to my life, and I had to analyze what happened, and that came very clear to me. So when I was doing that, I said, this has to go out to the world, and this is I offer the book for free on Google Books. And if you want to pick up a book, a lot of people like to pick up a book also.
Right, the hard copy.
So sales are going well in that sense. But anyone around the world can go onto the internet, onto Google Books, and pick it up. So those were the main things that caused me to write it.
Great. So you're a wellness coach, and you're also a writer as well. And were you a wellness coach before you wrote the book, or did you become a wellness coach after you wrote the book? I
was a wellness coach prior. I have quite a few different hats. I was into martial arts since 1975, so many years ago. Got my black belt at 1980. In 1980, I got into the nutrition aspect and all the other aspects in around 96 when I opened up a rehab and fitness business with a partner. And in doing so, we're a bit naive to all the aspects of what it takes to be healthy, because I wasn't exactly living the total healthy life. Pretty good, but nothing stellar. And I started to understand, because we started to have professionals come and work with us, team up with us, from chiros. Chiros are very interesting individuals. They have lots of knowledge to share on the alternative side of health. Physios, massage, acupuncturists, and so on. So I got to really understand what it was. So from wellness coaching to life coaching, because I was the intake person for clients coming into our facility, because it was an injury and fitness type facility.
Oh, okay.
So when someone came in, I would intake them, and they would end up downloading all kinds of personal information to me. So I learned that I was a life coach, because part of life coaching is people being able to open up to you, and the ability for me to listen and not really.
So that became like an offshoot of what you're doing.
It became an offshoot, and asked the right questions and whatnot. So
okay.
I ended up getting accredited in it about 5-6 years ago.
Excellent.
And so that's just another hat.
Another hat of the belt.
Another hat that I wear, yes. But it's all about the health of the individual. And I have a couple young children, so it's a bit of a selfish mission. I really want to see this world a better place, and I see that through the health of the individual. As the old saying goes, be the change that you want to see in the world.
Right.
But it goes more into the health aspect. The healthier you are, the less you are drained on society, the more energy you have to give to society. Right. And if the big picture, if you're an element of the earth, then it's just healthier for the earth in general.
Interesting. Well, we talk about the connection. The book talks about the connection between personal health and saving the world. But as you said, you become, if the healthier you are, the less of a drain of society you are. So if we were to go into, say, the prison system, for example, and just pool the average prisoner, would we link some of their dysfunctional behavior, so to speak, you link that to health?
For sure. You can link it to all kinds of aspects of life. Why did they get there in the first place? There's no baby born in the world who's going to say, I'm going to become a criminal. They say there's the criminal gene. Well, maybe so. There might be the diabetes gene, there might be the cancer gene, but it's how we live our lives with nurture and nature that unlocks that gene to its fullest capacity, or you keep it subdued and you're able to be constructive in your life. So nurture and nature is the key to health and to lifestyle and life in general. So let's go on the nurture part for a second. If you have a parent that abuses you and doesn't feed you the right foods, and you go into an institution that does the same sort of things to you, it's not going to be very good for you going forward.
So we can actually trace it.
We could trace it, yes.
But
and that's not my theory. That's science out there. They know that's out there.
We don't hear. That's another one of the things. We don't hear a whole lot about that. We hear, certain people in certain neighborhoods, and what they're into and how they end up. But you don't hear too much about that at all. You don't hear it at all, actually. So you know what? Let's hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back on what's going on.
Wonderful.